All right, 210. Hey guys, this is Natasha with Latina 210 Podcast. Thank you to VodPod Media for housing and producing, and to Latina Podcast Network for having me on your network. Guys, if you're listening, go watch, and if you're watching, go listen and like and subscribe and do all the cheesy things on YouTube. I really appreciate it. You're going to want to see who I have, and I say this every time, but I promise you're going to want to see this. If you're a fan of art or if you're just a person who likes to see people, I don't know, just go. Anyway, all right, so please introduce yourself.
My name is Albert Gonzales.
Yeah.
Gonzales with an S. So I always have to.
It's the best
tell
way to
people.
spell it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm Natasha Gonzales.
You
Yeah.
know that.
Yes. With an S, also with an S.
Want to hear a funny story real quick?
Yeah.
I met this guy who's a paramedic. I was out doing some street art stuff, and me and him started talking about art, and then I told him my name, and he's like, "Oh, Gonzales," and he's like, "With an S or a Z?" And I'm like, "With an S," and he's like, "Do you want to hear a funny story?" I'm like, "Yeah." So there was this old man that had fell down, and he got pretty badly hurt. Well, he's helping him into the ambulance, and he's getting his information, and he tells the old man, he's like, "Okay, well, what's your last name?" He's like, "Oh, Gonzales," and he looks at him and he goes, "With an S or a Z?" And the old man like blinks and he's like, "It's with the G, stupid."
Oh my God.
Yeah, little Gonzales funny story.
I'm going to say that from now on. Okay, so what is it that you do?
I'm a professional artist here in San Antonio. Do everything from street art, murals, now kind of getting into like clothing and merchandising. But primarily I make my living off of my paintings that I create and that I sell.
Yeah. Okay, so origin story.
Let's see. I quit my job in 2014. Let me backtrack a little bit. Growing up, I always was creative, never had the confidence to consider myself an artist.
Yeah.
Elementary school, middle school, high school was always just doodling. And it wasn't until 2014, going all these different jobs, bouncing around a lot, and still doodling at work. I finally made this decision to just take the leap into, going all in into trying to be a professional artist. I like to say it was the dumbest decision I ever made, but the most rewarding in the sense of, having these trials and tribulations of learning about myself, learning about the people that I was, trying to surround myself with, and learning that, we have to make sacrifices, for the things that we really want to achieve in life. And for me, not necessarily having a roadmap nor a connection to the local art community, it was very scary. And again, without also having a lot of knowledge in art or business, I was still figuring that out as well.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
But one of the most humbling and some of my most favorite memories are from that period in time. And from 2014, October 2014 to October 2015. And so, I quit my job. At that time, I was living at my mom's house, paying her rent. I always make sure I say that because, I know,
Don't forget.
I know some people that do, have the opportunity to live with their parents and not pay rent, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But my parents have always said, no, you have to pay something, especially for my mom. It's like you have to pay rent. So the day that I came home and said, "Mom, I'm going to be an artist," I wasn't expecting her to be like, "Oh, mijo, you want to be an artist? Rent's free." Like,
Yeah.
that was not expected. But I went into that conversation saying like, "Hey, like I might be a little bit late."
Yeah.
When it comes to paying rent, but from now on, it's how I'm going to make a living. It's how I'm going to survive.
Yeah.
And, the conversations with my parents after that, it was, "Mijo, just go get a job." I at the time, that job that I quit was a CVS pharmacy. I was working for their back office doing coverage determinations, and in the medical field, it was my responsibility that, when a patient went to go to the doctor, they got a prescription, and before that prescription was, sent out to the pharmacy, I was the one overlooking their insurance contract, making sure that the medication was covered, and it was just a really, for me, it was a horrible experience, a horrible job.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it was a really good paying job, and it was 9 to 5. But for me, I was in this revolving door. I had moved back to my mom's house. to save some money. I was incurring a lot of debt because some roommates had bailed on me, and it was just in a really
Name them. Name them.
yeah.
Who are they?
Nah, they ain't even worth my time.
That
but
job sounds boring as fuck, by the way.
it was, and it was just staring at a computer all day, being in a little cubicle.
No.
I couldn't do it, but it's funny because I did that a lot of my working career, from 2009, I worked multiple different jobs up to, 2014. I was a personal online banker for a little bit with Citibank. That was really cool, really fun. And then for a little bit, I was on my Hank Hill type shit.
Yeah.
Because I sold propane and propane accessories. And
Okay.
that was really cool.
Yeah.
I did a lot of really interesting jobs that I was always looking for something, right? I always wanted to get paid more, which, I think that's why I bounced around a lot. And another one was I always wanted that 9 to 5, the 9 to 5 schedule. And, when you're young and when you're looking for a career, or when you're not necessarily looking for a career, but you're looking for just a job just to kind of get you through the week, you want something with good pay and something with a good schedule. And that was something that I was always looking for.
That's wild. You wanted the 9 to 5?
At that time, because I wasn't, again, I was doing art, like doodling, but I wasn't like, oh, I'm an artist. I was just like, oh, like I'm getting paid, I'm working, but I would spend my money on dumb shit.
Like my whole life, I'm like, how do I become a millionaire but work like Monday, Wednesday, Friday from like 1 to 5?
Yeah, and see, that was like my mindset, but I wasn't like too ambitious as far as like, oh, I should go study this. It was always just like barely getting by, just the bare minimum efforts. And it wasn't until, again, I decided to quit my job where somehow I just had like that tunnel vision. And I think I maybe got that from like playing sports and throughout like high school and stuff, where I was always very like focused on that. And when it came down to quitting my job, I guess I kind of had like that Mamba mentality, because Kobe and all that was always like my focus. And in sports was like, you got to outwork the next person. You got to, stand out just by, being first and being last and just overworking yourself. That's just how I always been. I get pretty competitive. A lot of people don't know it, but like I play basketball and I still play basketball, not as much as I should, but I still hoop and I get pretty competitive, but I'm not competitive in my career. I know like the broader.
Interesting.
I know like the broader, spectrum of the situation is like, San Antonio's a huge market.
Yeah.
Not like a primary market like Houston, Dallas, New York, LA, Miami, but significant enough to where we have like, like 2 million people, 1 million people.
Yeah.
Here
2.2
million.
Who's counting?
Yeah, but it's just like knowing that, and then also, putting myself out there, being accessible to people, being active in my community,
For sure.
things that are just important to me. And I feel just by putting myself out there for the community, being out there for the people that are starting off in their careers, maybe they're artists, maybe they're engineers, entrepreneurs, whatever it is. I think it's just all a mindset of wanting to achieve something that seems impossible, something that seems great. A lot of people, I feel, might have that urge and might act on it, but then let a little bump or a little obstacle deter them from going full speed.
No, you're gonna hit a fuck ton of bumps and hills and mountains and seas and all of that as your own business owner, as your own boss, but it's worth it. And like you're like the epitome of like started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah, there's this one song that I love. I always encourage a lot of people to listen to it. It's one of my favorite songs ever. It's by Big Sean and Pharrell Williams. It's called Light Switch. And he says in the song, when you started in the basement, you got to make it to the attic. And then another quote in there, he says, "What's life without risk? If you take none, that's probably what you're going to get."
No, it's true.
So like I listen to that song like almost every day. It's like my big motivation song because it's like, I learned about this song maybe in like 2016, and this is like at a time where like things in my career started to like change in a positive way. And it was always this idea of listening to that song. It's like just keep the same mentality, from when I was hungry on the streets and
Yeah.
trying to get money for the bus and for coffee when I smelled really bad. But like keep that same mentality of
Yeah.
like, priorities, having those in line and not letting anything deter me from, following my mission.
Right.
And one of the most important things aligned with that is defining success for myself. Like for me, the success is paying my bills, having medical insurance, and having my own studio.
Yeah.
Like
And you're like, check, check, check.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm super content with that. Like
Yeah.
like yeah, I'm gonna strive for like other bigger goals that I have, but like I know that I'm gonna fail a lot along the way. I know I'm gonna get rejected a lot along the way, but I still keep like that my pace
Yeah.
of like moving forward, even if it's like shuffling or baby steps. I tell a lot of people take baby steps. Like even if I'm barely shuffling my feet forward, as long as I'm not standing still or moving backwards,
Facts.
I'm good.
Yeah. And like for me, it's like it's financial stability and freedom,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. Anybody. But also being able to be there for my kids if they need me, or waking up when I feel like waking up. I mean, you know what it's like, for
Yeah.
the most part. Taking business meetings when I want, taking lunches when I want, being with my friends if I want. Like to me, like that was my goal. Like I want to be able to do this, but also have the finances to support my family and give them everything that they want and need and more,
Mm-hmm.
right? Go on trips, things like that. And so, I mean, you've definitely made a name for yourself. And like you said, like you're not as competitive in the art realm, right? But for me, it's so hard to think about how that would even be possible, because you have such a niche product. But I feel like every artist does, right? So how would one compete, right? But the fact that you're also very active in the community is huge. And that's why people like love you and respect you, is because you're super humble. Like you're hanging out, you're at karaoke with your wife, you know what I mean? Like people can meet you and talk to you. You're not like, oh no, I'm above that, you
Yeah,
know?
no, I try my best just to like give people a time of day, like because I know how it was for me, when I was, you know, struggling a lot, and just trying to ask someone for help or just ask someone for advice, and
Yeah.
feeling like I was a burden to them, and so like a couple of days ago, I had an artist call me. He was from, I forgot where, I think it might have been like El Paso or somewhere else, but um, he had called me saying like, hey, I want to sell my art. How do I sell my art in your gallery? And rather than just explaining to him the process of like, oh, you got to send in a proposal, this and that, I sat there and I looked at his work, talked to him about his work, and gave him some advice. And he had a lot of interesting questions that I took a deep breath and really thought about and answered it for him,
Mm-hmm.
because I kind of heard myself on the other line. I heard myself not knowing what I was doing. I heard myself asking questions that were just like, okay, like you could do your own research for that, but for me it's like I was there too. So like I was very patient and said, this
Yeah.
is what you should do. And hopefully that person uses that advice, because I know for sure, like when I called people and they were able to give me some sort of advice, I remember I took that so deeply to heart, where it's like, you know what, like they're at a place where I want to be. So like the least I could do is just like really apply myself to like what they're saying, because
Yeah.
there's some truth to that, because look where they're at. So
Right.
even to this day, like I still do a lot of stuff like that, where I still call people, send messages to people that are more successful than me and that I see doing stuff that I want to be doing eventually, sometime in the future. And I ask them, can I take you to coffee? I ask questions of what I want to learn, and you'll be surprised on how many successful people there are out there that want to share that knowledge with people. And so I make it like a huge part of my daily process, is to like learn as much as I can about things that I want to learn about, and
Yeah.
You just always got to have that in you, is, wanting to learn more.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think where people go wrong is where they feel like they're like, oh, this is the top. I'm at the top. I'm the best. Like, no, there's always room for growth and for learning, right? And you should want to learn because, like, just in general, the way that the economy works, right? And you're at the end of it, right? You're still a businessman. Like, this is your business. You have to feed your family too, so you have to make sure you're on the up and up. But you're also shaking the right hands and talking to the right people and getting the advice that you need. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I gotta, I feel like I gotta do my own research, right?
Yeah.
But to share with my colleagues and peers and other artists, because unfortunately they don't teach you the business part of art in art school. And that's one thing that I learned from my wife when we started dating. She had graduated, with an art degree, and I was still early in my career when we started dating, and she had so many questions for me where I was like, don't they teach you that in art school? And she's like, no. And I'm
Really?
like, why? It's like, you pay so much money for this degree, but yeah, you can't, like, they don't teach you how to, like, survive off of it. And then, or at least I thought, well, if they are getting this degree, unless they want to be a teacher, unless they want to be, working in the museums or different nonprofit organizations, then you're left to either market for yourself and make your own sales, meet your own collectors and network, or you're going to rely on a gallery. And that's 50%, like
Dang.
50, 40, however much percent. That's already a cut out of your annual, sales. And so for me, it's like, man, like, how can I share my knowledge of what I've been able to learn and do and how I've been able to grow? And how do I share that with people who want to use that information? So that was another reason why I started a residency program early this year.
Awesome.
I was getting rejection emails. I was applying for residency opportunities. Haven't gotten one yet, but it's not going to deter me from applying again and again and again.
So what is that? What's a residency for art?
So residencies normally work where, like, let's say, like Art Pace is a perfect example.
Okay.
Art Pace downtown, I forgot what street they're off of, but Art Pace downtown in San Antonio, they're an amazing residency space and organization started by Linda Pace. And so what they do is they create these residency opportunities for artists to apply for. And what it is like you'll get like a stipend. Sometimes it could be 1,000, 5,000. It all varies, different residencies. And then you get like a studio. Sometimes they even have like an apartment or a place for you to live. And you just focus on creating for that whatever amount of time that they offer. And you work on a body of work in that space that they offer.
Really?
Sometimes they'll have like artists run workshops. They'll have like, some places offer like so many more like resources other than just like a studio, but it's because they have money to do that. And they're all over the country, all over the world. Some of them you have to pay for. Like they all run very differently. So like there's one in Italy that I know probably a lot of artists know about that might listen to this, where it's like you if you get accepted, you pay for your way there, and they offer you like a studio and an apartment, which is still good.
Yeah.
So there's all different levels to it. So like for me, you've seen the gallery space that I have there in the back of my studio. It's a little intimate space.
Yeah.
And so after being rejected, I sat there and I remember just thinking, okay, like I got rejected by everything this year, but I have this space, and I always thought it would be pretty cool to start my own like residency. So I thought, let's turn this small 8 by 17-foot space in the back, and it's a good small gallery space or studio space that could be had. And so I opened up an application process, and I had close to 40 artists submit.
Dang.
I selected one artist who I'm really happy that I selected.
Dang.
An artist named Shelby Criswell, and they're primarily they primarily do a lot of graphic design.
Okay.
And at that time, they were doing their artwork on a like smaller scale, and they weren't really focused on selling their work as much as they would have liked to. because they were always so busy with their graphic design work, and they're amazing artists, amazing graphic designer.
Nice.
I recommend them to anybody.
Yeah.
But I selected them. I was so excited. And when they moved in, they brought, their easel and whatever studio furniture they needed or wanted to have in that space and made it their own. And so it was a 2-month residency for free.
Dang.
And I put in my own money, and I had a few sponsors that donated a canvas, large canvas, and some money. So I think altogether it was like a $300 stipend that we ended up doing for them. And I donated some of my materials. And during this 2-month residency program, I kind of came up with these ideas for these workshops that we would do. And one of the coolest little workshops that I did was I told Shelby, I said, hey, let's put ourselves in this scenario where we're low on money and we have rent due in 2 weeks. How are we going to come up with it? And so I created this scenario because I've been there before, especially early in my career. So I was always already, I already knew what that process was like of thinking like, man, I got to make rent in this amount of time, but I have to make it off my art.
Yeah.
And so Shelby right away, they're like, okay, well, can I do graphic design stuff? I said, no, it has to be, just like your art, your stuff that you're doing away from graphic design. And so they made rent and a half in like less than a week.
Dang.
And that's the same thing they said. It's like, I did this.
Yeah.
And, it was brainstorming and having that session of throwing ideas to the wall and seeing what would stick. And I think for like the 2 months they were there, they made like close to like $4,000 in sales.
Wow.
And, and it was all because, we worked together with this concept of sustainability. And, that's what I've been able to do for, my career as a full-time artist.
Yeah.
And it's just knowledge that I feel just needs to be shared.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of creatives, might not have that confidence in themselves to really go all in, and that's totally fine. And I just want to help artists feel more confident in themselves, so where like they can make, that extra $1,200, $1,500, whatever amount for rent.
Yeah.
Because imagine, for any artist or anybody to just be able to say like, hey, I'm doing something that I love.
Yeah.
And I'm paying my rent.
Yeah.
With
That's
that.
huge.
Like,
So that's awesome.
I just want to like replicate that some more. And so that's been another motivation on some of my ideas that I've been kind of activating this year.
Yeah.
And you participated with the recent project that I launched for the abstract paintings.
Yeah.
That was a really crazy idea that I had. I was meditating in the shower. I had like a long day in the studio. I had a project fall through that I was planning on getting this project, and things were going pretty well, and it kind of just like fell through last minute, and I was really anxious and nervous and frustrated about it. And I remember just thinking about it, and then having this moment where I had the idea about that project and how I would do like this new sales strategy.
Yeah.
Because I was getting ready to leave on a vacation, a week later. And so like that kind of gives you a little details on how much I thought this project was going to like actually happen.
Yeah.
And so I kind of planned around that, and it didn't happen. So rather than, letting that defeat me and have that completely stop my vacation, I said, you know what, I'm gonna figure this shit out. And I came up with that idea that seemed pretty crazy. I woke up my wife in the middle of the night, and I was like, hey, this is gonna sound really crazy. It might be really good, it might be really bad, but the least I could do is just like put it out there in the world and see what happens. And within like 24 hours, I sold 130 pre-orders.
Wild.
And like it was crazy.
Yeah.
And pretty much paid for the trip, and it was just really cool to like step back from that moment, like on vacation and understanding. I was at Yellowstone when I kind of had this moment where it's like, man, like I really wanted to be here. There's other things that I really wanted to happen, and as much as it seemed like it was like right there at the doorstep, just like vanished. But yet, like, I kept applying myself in whatever way that seemed stupid or crazy, and like I made something better happen. Like, I made more money than I was gonna make with that first project.
Dang.
And so it was like, yeah, the world's
It's
crazy,
like,
life's crazy.
But it's like one door closes and you bust another one open.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
That's
oh,
exactly
okay,
what
cool.
I thought. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. And then something else happened like shortly after that too.
Really?
Like when I came back, like I got an email that literally almost had me drop to my feet. Like,
What?
Or drop to the floor.
Yeah.
So it was like
Good, bad?
good.
Can you talk about it?
I can't talk about it, but it's like really good. And,
Okay.
And
Good.
yeah, like it was literally on my way back, and it was an email that I was like crossing my fingers for, and like it happened, and it's like, oh shit, like.
That's
And
awesome.
the same thing what you said is like one door closes, another door opens.
For sure.
And it's like, yeah, like
Yeah.
as long as you keep moving forward, you know,
Yeah.
I could have like, oh man, like this is not gonna happen. Oh, I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm gonna stay still. I'm gonna move back. But I said, no, you know what? Even as frustrated as I was, I'm gonna take little baby steps forward and come up with these new concepts of sales strategies for art.
Which
and
is
like,
super smart. And there was a ton of people there.
yeah, there was a ton of people there. So many people that were supportive. That also helped generate more leads and more sales for paintings for my new and existing collectors.
Yeah.
And then now I'm doing a similar strategy for a whole nother, you know, series of prints, and those are already doing really well. So it's just like I'm just trying to share these things with other artists or with other people, because it's like I want to see other people succeed. I want to see other people be able to like live off of, you know, whatever it is that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
And so like I try my best to like just be the best version of me.
Yep.
But in a way that like, you know, it's really tough, like as an artist, like it's incredibly tough. But
you
like,
can say bad words. It's okay.
It's incredibly tough being a professional artist and it's solely, you know, art, living off of it. It's tough. A lot of people they'll say like, oh, well, like what else do you do? I'm like, me and my wife just live off our art, and they're like, well, what does she do? I'm like, she just does art too, and it's like, it's so interesting to see people's reactions, because like a lot of times I feel like they don't really believe me. Like, they're like, yeah, dude.
They're all sure.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Sure. And but you know, I know there's people that want to be able to do what we're doing, or even again being able to pay rent. So I just try my best to like help motivate other people, help inspire other people, and especially engage with like the community as much as I can, because it's super important. It's something I love to do.
It really is. Like I'm such a proponent for like, of course, like remaining humble, right? No matter how far up you get, because you're never at the top, right? But then remaining super involved in the community, because that's who's supporting you, right? Or who's supporting me, or what? All of us that do everything that we do, are creatives, you know. And we're all creative in different ways. And so I've also noticed people that are successful are the ones, and my friends, because I definitely keep people that are like-minded around me, that are like, no, I don't gatekeep, and I clap for other people, and I want others to succeed, because do it. Like, and I tell people, even if you're doing exactly what I do, I'm still going to clap for you. I'm still going to help you out as much as I can, because at the end of the day, there's one of me. So you're not going to be me. Not that I'm better, but there's only one of me, and I compete with myself. So I'm good. Like, I'm like, what do you need? Like, I'll help you. Like, you know, this is what I use. This is what I did. This is how I did this. Like, because I can't do it for you, right? But I can still help give you tools. And if I struggled, just like you said, struggled to learn certain things, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, that sucks. I struggled, so you have to struggle. No. Like, I'll help you out.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things, but like not favorite things. It's like just being very aware when I'm not like the smartest person. Not that I think I'm smart like that, but if I'm around other people that are like, you know, successful what they do, or, you know, again, like just very smart, like I'm very quick to like if they use a word that I don't know, or if they're talking about stuff I don't know, I make it pretty obvious. It's like, hey, like I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but like, can you explain to me? Because like I really want to learn, and I really want to, just soak everything in that I can. And I think, again, with any career, it helps a lot. And for me,
sure.
it's helped a lot with my career, is being around people that are doing stuff that I want to do, and not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to ask for help
Yeah.
or advice. And has led me into like some pretty cool places,
Yeah.
and meeting and being friends with some really cool people.
Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine. His name's Erwin. He was a sales director for a big gallery out in Austin. And one day I had called this gallery. They would be kind of like a blue chip gallery. They sell a lot of art. And so like I called one day, and I asked to speak with like the gallery director, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'm the sales director. You know what's up?" And I said, "Okay, well, um, I don't necessarily want anything. I just want to like get some advice." I said, "I'm an emerging artist. Eventually, I would love to be in a position where maybe one day I could work with y'all and have my work shown with y'all. But like, what does it take for an artist like me to at least be considered for for the opportunity to work with y'all like in the future? What are some things that I should set as goals for myself now, so that as the years go by, and if I'm able to achieve these things, that it would be more considered?" And he's like, "Oh, that's a good question." Like, he thought about it, and we had like a really good conversation.
Nice.
And what ended up happening is he said, "You know what, like, tell me your website." I tell him my website. I hear him typing, and then I get on my computer because I want to kind of be on the same page with him. And I could see or hear that he's like going through my website. And then we start talking about my art, and then I start explaining my art.
Yeah.
And then he said, "You know what?" He's like, I want to stay in contact with you. I want to like stay updated with your career. Just,
Yeah.
he said, "Here's my email. Whenever you have anything in the future, just keep me updated." I'm like, "Okay." So I get his email, and again, while I'm on the phone with him, while I'm on the computer, I send him an email. I said, "Hey, here's my digital card, Albert Gonzales. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me." And I sent that to him while I'm on the phone with him.
Uh-huh.
And I'm talking to him, and he gets the email, and he's like, "Dude," he's like, "I got your email." He's like, "You're on it."
Yeah.
He's like, normally someone that would call about like, "Hey, can I be in your gallery?" or "Hey, can I do this?" He goes, I would tell him no, and then the conversation changes because it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, this and that," or and he's like, "But he's like, you're not asking for anything." He's like, "You genuinely want to learn, and you want to like move your career and yourself forward."
Yeah.
And he goes, "I could kind of hear that in your voice, that like you're hungry for like
Yeah.
success." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, keep me updated." And I'm like, "Okay." So we get off the phone. Well, then a month or two later, months would go by, right? And I would do stuff, and I would send him an invite. "Hey, I'm doing this." Never got any reply. Well, then one night, a couple months later, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, Albert, I was having dinner with one of my friends. He's a gallery director for this space in Austin. And, he's curating this 2-person show. He has one artist, and he had asked me, 'Hey, what other artists should I look into?'" He threw my name out there.
Dang.
And it got me into this like pretty great show. And then that opened more opportunities.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, like doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just cold calling, just out of the blue, just not asking for anything, but just sharing ideas or sharing thoughts and just wanting to learn,
Yeah.
has put me in some really crazy positions.
Same.
You want to hear another one?
Yeah.
Uh,
Come on. And then?
I had this idea a couple years, maybe probably like in 2019. I had this idea. It's like home and garden show, right?
Okay.
Home decor, garden, flowers,
Yeah. Yeah.
paintings, decor,
Yeah.
subject flowers. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna call the Home and Garden Expo and just run an idea by them. And I got a hold of the event coordinator for the Home and Garden Expos. And I said, hey, my name's Albert Gonzales. I had this idea of maybe doing like some light painting for your audience. They're homeowners. They buy, furniture and decor for their houses. People love gardening. My paintings are about flowers and wabi-sabi. And they're like, oh, this is so cool that you're calling, because we just got out of a meeting today, and we were talking about wanting to be more engaged with our audience during our expos.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, let's make something happen. And we talk about pricing, and we talk about, like logistics and stuff like that. Well, I had one of the largest booths at the Houston Home and Garden. The, like literally, probably, yeah, like one of the largest booths
Oh
there
my
at the
God.
Houston Home and Garden that I had set up as like my gallery.
Yeah.
And then I had 1 hour stage time Saturday and Sunday to talk about my work.
Nice.
And then I also had the same thing, but in Austin.
Nice.
All because I
Literally.
called and shared my idea,
Yeah.
and they loved it. And we still are in contact about future stuff. But like, that all was just me having an idea,
Yeah.
calling the right person, getting in contact with them, and just sharing an idea
Yeah.
and figuring out how to make it work. And
Yeah.
that's led to like so many other opportunities of like networking and building friendships with collectors.
For sure.
So that's literally how I've been able to grow in my career, is just like being fearless in the sense of like, I'm either going to get told no,
Right.
or just rejected by a proposal.
Yeah.
And like, what's the worst that can happen? So just use that to keep moving forward.
Literally, that's how I've met so many people and been a part of so many things, is just by asking, or even by saying. People will be like, oh yeah, I have this, and I'm like, oh, tight invite. And I like joke and I'll say shit all the time, but I mean, I kind of mean it. But then people will be like, yeah, come with me. And then they're like, oh, have you met Natasha? And then it gets this ball rolling. And, or even like DMing people that like I never thought I would have a chance like interview or talk to. And they're like, oh yeah, come. And I'm like, oh shit. Oh, okay, yeah. I'll be right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like at shows, like, hey, like, I'm with the press, or I do this or whatever. Like, can I go backstage and like meet whoever? And like, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But when it does, I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, what the worst thing they can say is no. Like, what are they gonna do? Like, kick you out and like set you on fire? No, just like no. Okay, then no. Then
Yeah.
you see my face. I've introduced myself, so maybe at a later show, because you're gonna see me again.
Yeah.
You might say yes.
Yeah, I've had a solo pop-up exhibition in New York City. Again, by me sending out 400
awesome.
emails,
Yeah.
just with my fingers crossed, throwing a Hail Mary, hoping that someone would just read it, love it, and say yes. And that's exactly what happened. And in New York, for free, having
Crazy.
a close to 800 square foot retail space in a high traffic business area,
Crazy.
white walls, white marble floors, studio track lighting system, for free in New York.
Is that how you met Spike Lee?
No, actually, so the first time I met Spike Lee,
I love how you say the first time.
yeah,
The
it's
first
crazy.
time.
Okay, so the first time I met Spike Lee, I had just sold some painting. I had made my first sale to UTSA for the first time, and they bought some large scale abstract paintings.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people they know me from like my Wabi Sabi series, my flower paintings. But actually, my abstract paintings are what actually got me into this realm of creating the Wabi Sabi series. I love painting abstractly, and so I sold some abstract paintings to UTSA, and then with that money, I took my girlfriend, now wife, Caroline, on this trip with me to Philadelphia and to New York. So we flew into Philadelphia, went to the Barnes Foundation, galleries, studios, whatever, and then we took the train up to New York and went to all the museums and galleries out there. And so on our last day in New York City, we were riding bikes through the city. We started up in 95th and rode all the way down to like 2nd.
Dang.
And yeah, it was really fun. But as we're going through Soho, I see Spike Lee like walk right in front of me, and I'll never forget. Like I look at my wife and I'm like, "That's Spike Lee," and I got my bike and I just threw it to the ground, and I just like ran after him.
Yeah.
I gotta rewind a little bit because this is really cool. I'm a huge Spurs fan,
Yeah. Same.
and that's another reason why the colors on my
Like
hat are black, white, and silver.
Yeah.
So in Philadelphia, there's the Mitchell and Ness store, and so Mitchell and Ness, yeah. So Mitchell and Ness, they have their headquarters in Philadelphia, and again, the universe always aligns for me with
Yeah.
all these like things. It's ridiculous and cool. So I'm walking through the streets of Philadelphia in the morning because our train leaves to New York like that afternoon, and so we're just wandering downtown Philadelphia. Well, it's like 10 a.m. and we walk in front of the Mitchell and Ness store. And as we're walking in front of the Michelin S headquarters store, the store manager is putting on the Spurs 90s warm-up jacket,
Oh.
the classic warm-up
Yes.
jacket,
Yeah.
pink cuffs, and she's putting on that jacket on the mannequin.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, whoa, this is like my favorite warm-up
Yeah,
jacket.
yeah.
And they're bringing it back. And I walk into the store, and they had just unlocked the door. The store opened at 10 a.m. I walk in like at 10:01.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I'm from San Antonio. I need that jacket. And the store manager turns around. She's like, that's crazy. She's like, everything in here gets launched in the store 30 days before it even goes online.
What?
And so she's like, you're going to have anything you get from here, you're going to have 30 days before anyone in San Antonio.
Dang.
And so I bought almost everything I could in the store. I had like this classic George Gervin Iceman shirt, this Tim
Dang.
Duncan shirt,
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of really cool stuff,
Nice.
and the warm-up jacket. So then I wear all my Spurs gear up
Yeah.
to New York, and I think I wore like almost every day. I had like a different Spurs
As you
shirt
should.
and
Yeah.
everything for every day. So my last day in New York, I'm riding bikes. I'm wearing all my Spurs gear, and I'm riding my bike, and I throw my bike down. I run up to Spike Lee, and I'm like, "Oh, Spike Lee, this is so cool! Like I'm meeting you. Like you're a freaking icon. Like I want to be like you one day in San Antonio, but like for painting and visual arts." And he turns around and he's like, "Are you from San Antonio?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, how did you know?
Yeah, what?
And so we took this picture, and I have it on my Instagram. I take this picture with him, and so I take the picture with him, and I'm like fangirling. I'm like, "Oh my god, like, this is so cool," and this and that. And he's like, "Whatever, dude." And that's that. Well, that night I come back from the trip, and I have this dream that inspired the Wabi Sabi series. So I create like the first Wabi Sabi painting. At the time, it was called Sunday Morning because I woke up Sunday morning with this vision, and
Yeah.
and so I titled that painting Sunday Morning. It's a large flower piece. That one's also in the UTSA art collection, and so that was like the first, of its kind. So fast forward a couple years ago, two years ago, I was a creative director for a big like NFT project, and so they flew me out there to be there in New York. And so as I'm getting ready to pack my bags to leave, I put a painting in my luggage, and a Wabi Sabi painting, and my wife, she's like, "Why are you taking a painting?" I'm like, "Well, it's New York. You just never know."
Never know,
Like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
especially for me, every time I go to New York, something crazy happens. So I'm like, I'd rather be prepared. And so she's like, "All right, whatever." So go to New York, have a great time, meet a lot of people. Well, my last day in New York City, we're staying in Brooklyn. So my last day there, I wake up that morning and I call her and I was like, "Hey, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up to people randomly. If you've ever been to New York, it's like almost impossible to just talk to a random stranger on the street, like especially for like a minute
Yeah.
or 2 minutes.
They're like, get out of my face.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you ain't, like,
Yeah.
if you ain't mugging them, they didn't want to hear it. Like, you just get out of there. So like for me, I told my wife, I was like, I'm just gonna go up to random people in New York,
Yeah.
in Brooklyn, and I'm gonna tell them my story and how I got started, introduce myself, and then tell them the story about the Wabi Sabi series. And then just to prove that it happened, I was gonna photograph them holding my painting.
Yeah.
And she's like, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I told her at the end of this project, at the end of this adventure, I'm going to either sell the painting, trade it, or give it away. And she's like, whatever, it's your painting. Do what you want. So I'm like, okay. So I start my morning going up to random people, talking to them, taking their photograph. And it's like a really cool adventure. I'm having a really cool time. Next thing you know, I go to this park in the center of Brooklyn, and they're having like this jazz festival. And I love jazz music. So I'm just there taking in the music. This guy standing next to me, he sees my painting that I'm holding, and he asked me about it. And then I start telling him about this adventure that I'm on, and how I'm talking to people, this and that. Turns out he's the event coordinator for the Brooklyn Center of the Arts, and he
Oh my
helped put
gosh.
that whole event together. And he tells me, he's like, "Hey, would you want to go on stage and share your story with all the people here?" I'm like,
What?
"What? Like, really?" And then he's like, "Yeah, like, I don't see why not. It'll be really cool." So this amazing band finishes performing.
Yeah.
He introduces me. I talk to all these people. I get off the stage area, and I'm on this like natural high. All these people come up to me. They're, "Oh, this is so cool. Let me get your information, this
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that." And I'm like, "Man, freaking New York City.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like
Never
random
know.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. You never know, right? So I'm on this natural high. I'm walking around, just kind of just taking it all in, and I see this other street band performing, and I'm just like just watching them. And then the corner of my eye from across the street, I see this gentleman in all New York Yankee stuff turn the corner, and then I'm like, no way. I'm like, I'm not even from Brooklyn. I'm not even from New York. I'm here on like a business trip,
Yeah.
and I meet this guy again, and I'm like, I gotta go up to him. I gotta talk to him.
Yeah.
And so I run across the street, and there's all this commotion because I wasn't gonna wait because I literally ran across the street.
Yeah.
And there's all this commotion, cars honking at me. I almost got hit by like a van, and so much honking to where
Yeah.
like I finally make it across the street, and I'm all like adrenaline rushed out because I almost died. And with all this commotion happening, Spike Lee and his like little like entourage, they all turn around, and I'm like, Spike Lee, this is so cool that I'm meeting you again. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, no. Like I said, I met you like years ago.
Yeah.
I came to New York to get inspired, and on my last day here, like I met you, and like I was even more inspired because like I met a New York icon, and like that night I had a dream, and I started a series of work that like has literally changed my life and my career.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, and then now I'm paid to be here, and I'm doing like all these like crazy things with my art now. And what's crazy is I brought one of my paintings that's from that series that I started the day after I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's crazy. And he said, oh yeah, cool. And I'm like, no, it gets crazier because I called my wife this morning and I told her about this adventure that I was going to put myself on.
Uh-huh.
And I said, at the end of this adventure, I was either going to sell the painting, trade it, or give it away. And I was like, I don't think it's a coincidence that we cross paths like this.
Yeah.
So I was like, I feel like I need to give you this painting. And he turns around and his mouth's like just like wide open. And he's like, dude, that is crazy. And he's like, I'd love to like continue to share this story.
That's awesome.
And so on my Instagram, you'll see the picture. You would think it's like really well composed. Like it is
I've seen it.
a really well composed picture.
Uh-huh.
But that's literally where I met Spike Lee. So like the composition, when you look at the
Crazy.
photograph, it has like do the right thing and this and that. So it's like, for me, I took that as like a sign from the universe and God that's like just putting myself in these like positions to where like I want something to happen, and not necessarily it guaranteeing that something's going to happen, but like if you go into something with the idea that like, you know, I'm going to put my best foot forward, I'm going to give 110%, and like whatever is meant to happen is going to happen.
For sure.
And like good or bad, if you have the perspective of just like learning from whatever happens,
Yes.
you'll be good.
Yeah.
And so like I took it as that message from God and from the universe of like, keep applying myself in that way, and the right things are going to happen when they need to happen. And
Yeah.
like they still continue to do that. So it's like a testament of like just being a good person, applying the golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated.
Exactly.
Don't be an asshole, be easy to work with, and like, you know, just be 110%, things will happen.
No, yeah. On air? Sure. Okay. Oh,
Nice.
thank you.
I'll take pina colada.
And now with the chamoy.
Ooh.
She's all excuse me.
All right. Well, so this is,
Yeah.
haven't had these before.
I've never been offered a treat while filming, so this is great. Oh, period. Oh, are they here? Oh, I know that guy. Okay, anyway. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm definitely like the same way. Like I don't feel like anything in life is a failure. I think it's a lesson. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. Like that's how I think of things. 'Cause yeah, I'm always going to learn from stuff. If it doesn't work out, why didn't it work out?
Yeah, and I think we get too hard on ourselves sometimes. We overlook the analytical part of being able to like understand why we made mistakes. And I feel like a lot of times, like when you overlook that part, like you miss out on so much.
For sure.
One of my favorite books is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and he says in the book, with every failure comes a seed of success.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, yeah, like go get those failures, because the more you get, the more things you're going to learn and the more opportunities you're going to create for yourself.
But it also adds to your story too. Like as a professional, like, you know what, if every single thing that I wanted came to me, like cool, but also kind of boring. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's the no's or the closed doors that make you segue into like bigger, better things, or just, you know what, that door's not opening because it's not ready now.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that it's a no forever.
Yeah, and it's the same thing like with my residency that we started. It's like I met a great friend with Shelby, and like that was me getting rejected, and shifting gears of like, oh, maybe starting a residency, like getting rejected by everything was just for me to start something.
Yeah.
And then so many good things came up from that. So it's like, yeah, being optimistic
For sure.
helps so much. And with so much negative stuff happening every day, like the least we could do for ourselves is just like try to find a little bit of things to be optimistic about.
It's that glimmer of hope. And I've had like 2 friends the past couple of days that have literally talked about like hopelessness versus like hope, right? And the word keeps coming up, and I don't know why, but again, everything happens for a reason, right? So like, I don't know, something's happening. But it's true. Like, even if you have just like a sliver, that's everything, because to be in this like spot of hopelessness is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And then to get out of it on your own is hard for a lot of people. So to keep that, even like, you know what, this sucks, this is shitty, this isn't going how I thought, but this is happening for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a lesson, or it's a pivot, or
And that's how I felt early in my career when like I wasn't even getting by. I was just there, like just hoping people would acknowledge me, but knowing what it feels like to like feel hopeless and feeling like like you're at the bottom, like feeling what that, knowing what that feels like it becomes such a big part of your why, and big part of your like ambition, that fire that drives you. It's like not ever wanting to go back to that, but understanding that there's so many sacrifices that help get you from that to like where I'm at today. So like one thing that I tell people, one thing that when I had my studio tour with my friend Juan and his students from UTSA, one thing that I said that he really liked a lot was these are the 3 things that I believe like will help, or that will lead anybody into like their career path or journey or passion, whatever it is. Determination, knowing what you want, longevity, understanding that, if you can stay on the path moving forward to something that might seem like it's never going to happen, like you're good. Sometimes it will happen, sometimes it won't, but that journey is like what's worth it.
Right.
And when you're on that journey, sacrifice. Like you got to be willing to make sacrifices to stay on that journey. And if you can't do any of those 3 things, do yourself a favor and go do something else.
Right.
Because then you're just lying to yourself. If you're like not determined, or if you can't follow this like longevity or even the sacrifices to go towards your passion or your goals, save yourself the time and the effort,
right,
and go find something where you can answer yes to those 3 things,
right,
because everything else is just a waste of time
For
unless you
sure.
can do those.
Yeah, and part of that longevity is consistency, and consistency is key, but also learning and growing, because then like same, like this is messy.
This is so good though.
Shout out to Alma Paletas.
I know.
I'm trying to have a serious moment right now.
Are they an official sponsor?
I mean, they could be mine too.
All right. Hey, go over there. Tell them TREBLA sent you. You won't get any discounts or anything, but just let them know what's up.
Yeah, tell them Norteño. They're going to be all cool.
You know another thing that I do? I write jokes. I try to stand up.
Wait. I know this. Jose told me.
Yeah.
He said you're hilarious.
You know,
I mean, he's your
I
bestie, too.
To my own horn, but
You're all, but I'm funny.
I think I know I'm funny.
Yeah. Have you done it yet?
I do. Not as much as I should. I told one of my friends, you might know him, Patrick Christopher.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, dude, I'm going really hard at this art so that I could be a comedian. And I was like,
Yo, the art's cool.
but I was like, a starving artist, comedian, they're not that different. And I feel like, it's such a huge sacrifice that both people make for their art. And, I don't want to ever go that. I don't ever want to go back to being a starving artist. I throw that around loosely, and I hate when other people do it. So I don't really like using that term, starving artist. But yeah, I know what it feels like when I was hungry, I was starving, and people were like, "Oh, look, you're a starving artist." I'm like, "Yeah, like, bitch, buy a painting for $1 so I could
Please.
get a burger."
Yeah.
And there was even this one moment I was outside of where it's now Dave and Buster's downtown, but before that, when it was under construction, I would do this thing where I would lean into that. You know how they have like the construction fence? So I would show up in the morning and I would put all my weight into leaning in that fence so where I could like make it like go in. And so that would be like my little setup because it was like right underneath the roof of what used to be Macy's, because they had it set up to where it's like the fence was like right underneath the roof. So we're like, if I wanted to set up along the fence, I would be like out in the sun. So what I would do is I'll lean all the way into it and push it as far back as I could, and I would like set up like underneath the roof with some shade. And what I ended up doing one day was I'm out there all day.
There you go.
I'm out there all day, not making any sales. And again, it's like super hot, and I'm really hungry at this time. I think I hadn't made a sale in like a couple of days, and I'm out there, and I never thought I'd be in this position either. But I say this story with pride too. It's a long, terrible day, not making any sales. And I'm sure I looked terrible too. Like I'm sure I looked hungry as well. And this one couple, you could tell that they were like a new couple, or they were having like their night on the town. And I'm there. I'll never forget. I'm sitting there and I'm hot. And this couple walks out and they look at my art, and they're trying to find something that they like, right? And then my work was really crappy back then, and they couldn't see anything. But the lady, she was like, "Hey, do you want my leftovers?" And man, I think about that now. It's like I never thought I'd be in that position, where like if someone were to offer me their leftovers from the street, where I'd be like, yeah, like I'll take it. But she offered me her leftovers, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't touch it. Like, we just gonna take it back to the hotel, but like you could have it." And yeah, it was sweet potato fries, and like a small piece of like steak.
Yeah.
And man, like just going back to like those days where it's like not having anything, feeling hopeless, and being out in the sun, knowing what it's like to like literally be hungry and making that sacrifice for my art.
Yeah.
Like those are the things that continue to like push me today. And another reason again why I love like trying to help other artists in my community, or just anybody in general, trying to create opportunities for other people. But yeah, that free food tastes really good, especially when you're a starving artist. Again, I never thought I'd ever be in that position, but I was. And yeah, I let stories like that, the human experience, show someone that shows, empathy. And it's something I do whenever I'm out to eat, or if I have leftovers. I always think about that story. I always think about that experience of like what that was like to me. So like whenever me and my wife or my family go out to eat, if I have some leftovers, I kind of make an effort to like, if I see anyone that looks hungry, or in that position, like to try to replicate that.
That's beautiful. And it's such a, like, the fact that you remember like the exact meal, you know what I mean? Like, and that's something you'll never forget. Because you don't want to be back there, but it's also, like you said, it's something you think about in order to help other people, and not many people think that way.
Yeah,
So,
I've had it very rough early in my career, and you know, I think that's one thing with like social media too, is you know I'm sure people see my posts now and think like, oh, this artist. But I know like I took a lot of sacrifice and a lot of stuff
yeah.
to get me to where I'm at today, and um, yeah, I just want people to know that. It's
Yeah. But anything that's worth doing will be.
hmm
It's going to be hard and it's going to take sacrifice, but it's worth it. If that's really what you want, and once you get to that point, and like again, like you went from eating somebody's leftovers, right? Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. To being this huge successful artist here in the city and in the nation. Like you're still growing. You're still going to be like you're like one of the top, to me anyway, and I don't care at me, you're one of like the top artists that I know, at least, you know what I mean? So I don't know, it's beautiful to see your journey, and even though I'm like new-ish to you, to learn more about you and to learn like about like your like humble beginnings, right? So
Another reason why I'm working really hard so that I could make a transition to comedy. I'm just like-
so you can start over again.
But I would love to write. I would love to
Yeah,
write
yeah.
jokes for people if that was even a thing for me to like.
It is a
There's so
thing.
many other things that like
Yeah.
that I love to do that aren't out there
Yeah.
in the world. So I even like co-wrote a full script for a short film, possibly
Nice.
like a feature film that could be worked on. But that's a whole nother part of I feel like my life story that once that page is ready to be turned,
Yeah.
I'll be diving into, you know, my directorial debut and
Yeah.
all that stuff. But in the meantime, everything right now is focused on painting and murals and merchandise. But in the back, you know, behind closed doors, I'm working on so many other things too.
That's awesome. Congratulations to you, man.
Thanks.
That's awesome. I did stand up one time, and kudos to them. That shit's not easy.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll support you whenever you start doing that.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
let
really
you
big
know.
on the local comedy scene too. So.
I'll tell you the joke off air.
Okay.
The one that I came up with yesterday.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I was. Oh, trying to think. Okay. I'll just say it right here.
Okay.
I'm still working on it. All right. So, growing up, especially in high school, I talked to a lot of ladies, and it got to the point where, you know, I had my kid. It was a boy, and then my friends from high school, they were like, "Oh, dude, look, it wasn't a girl. You're gonna have to, you know, have a girl and dating through high school. You know what you were like in high school." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right." Like, and then in college or you know after high school, like I don't want. Yeah, I was could have been like an asshole. So I was like, man, if I have a daughter and she dates assholes, like I'm not gonna like that. And so I've been thinking about it. So okay, well, if I have a daughter, I'm gonna name her a minor,
A minor.
so no one will want to date her. So it's like, hey, who's that girl you're taking to the party? A minor. Oh, don't bring her. Or you know, it'd just be really awkward for them. But I'm gonna have to respect the person that they fall in love with because they're gonna be wherever they want to get married, and then the person marrying them is gonna say, "Do you take a minor to be your lawfully wedded wife?"
No.
And then, you know, I'm gonna have to give them my respect.
Oh my God.
But that's just one of the jokes, and some people might not find it funny, but
I think it's
just
hilarious. But what's even more hilarious is that you have a second baby on the way, and you don't know if it's a boy or girl.
we're not announcing it, but it said here on the podcast. But yeah, we're having another
Oh
baby.
shit! I'm so sorry.
My wife's gonna be like, I thought we weren't telling anybody, but it's totally fine.
Just
Cat's out
kidding.
of the bag.
Just kidding. We'll edit that out. I'm so sorry.
You're fine. It's totally fine.
Congratulations to you guys. Well.
But yeah, and we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Watch it be a girl now,
Maybe.
and then you're gonna have to follow through.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, I thought about that, but we have another name lined up if it's a girl. But yeah, a boy or girl.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, it's gonna be. No, it's totally fine.
Okay.
Because yeah,
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really
totally fun.
appreciate it. Oh, fuck.
This was really funny.
Congratulations to you guys. She's going to be like, thank you. Okay, well, how do people find you on social media?
TREBLA Art,
Uh-huh.
TREBLA. I could little segue to like a funny story about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So TREBLA is my name backwards,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people before when they would meet me, just through like social media and following through that and meeting me in person, the question would always come up: TREBLA, what does it mean? Like, what does TREBLA mean? And I would just say, it's my name backwards. And like the look of disappointment on their faces, like would always just like hit that string in my heart. And then finally, after getting drunk on wine one night with my wife, I said, you know what? I'm tired of making people disappointed. I got to come up with something good.
Uh-huh.
And so it took me like 500 tries, but I came up with an acronym. At first, I couldn't even get it past the E because my wife would just be like, no, it's so stupid. Like,
Just
just stop. But finally, I came up with the right one. Excuse me. Time resolves everything, but love answers. And that's TREBLA. So TREBLA_art on Instagram, or Albert Gonzales with an S, not a Z.
Yeah.
Albert Gonzales Art.com. And then if you're interested in purchasing art, you could shoot me a DM on Instagram or shoot me an email. You could also purchase directly from my website. One thing that I love to do for people that are in San Antonio or in surrounding areas, home consultations. So like, let's say like, for instance, you find a painting on my website. It might be, a couple $1,000. And you say, hey, like, I love this piece. This is the price, but I would feel more comfortable seeing it in my home before making the investment. So I load up the painting, take it to your home, show you
Wow.
how it looks on the wall, and you can make your decision once it's on the wall, which a lot of times it helps make that decision. So
Yeah.
for anyone interested in a home consultation and purchasing art, DM me, email me, contact me.
Dang.
I'm always accessible. So
Get that VIP concierge.
yeah.
Okay. All right. And then anything you want to say to your family, friends, fans?
I love y'all. Thank you all for the support. I couldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for y'all. And, with y'all's support, it allows me to do all these other crazy, ambitious things that seem impossible to me. But, the people who support me, people who follow me, help give me that extra confidence that I need and help give me that extra push in the studio when things get rough and things get hard, when I get rejected and stuff like that. So knowing that I have people that support me, that believe in me, really helps, push me forward. So, again, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you all who support me. So
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
yeah.
I feel like there's so much more to your story, so I'm going to bring you back on at some point so that way we can talk more, especially after your big news comes out. So, yes, thank you guys. Thank you again for being here. Make sure that you like, share, follow, support, purchase, support local art and local artists always, local businesses, period. Again, thank you to ValPod Media for housing and producing, and to Latino Podcast Network for having our network. Guys, thanks again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and share and all that. So, yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.